We are breaking into programming to bring you an update. About an hour and a half ago, we learned there are now 11 people with presumed positive cases of COVID-19.
Restaurants and bars must cease all dine-in activities, and other non-life critical businesses are to cease operations of their physical locations by 8 p.m. tonight.
We expect more cases to be confirmed in the upcoming days and weeks, and we want everyone to take action to help prevent the spread.
COVID-19 cases are reaching record highs as health officials say we're now at a critical point in the pandemic.
The guidance is that we ought to avoid any congregate settings. And that means anything that brings people together is going to help that virus get us. And we ought to do everything we can to defeat that virus.
Penn Medicine, Lancaster General Health, and UPMC have partnered to open a testing site in Lancaster City at Clipper Magazine Stadium.
Healthcare workers are overwhelmed as hospitals see record numbers of beds filling up with COVID-19 patients.
Fatigue and frustration are setting in as ICU beds are filling up with COVID-19 patients.
Breaking news, the FDA has just issued an emergency use authorization order of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine.
First at 4, a mass COVID-19 vaccination site is being planned for Lancaster County. Now, Lancaster County officials say the goal is to eventually have thousands of people vaccinated per day at the facility in Lancaster County.
This is a moment that we can cherish, that we can treasure, that we can really try to move our county, our region forward by vaccinating and vaccinating quickly. This is a shot of hope.
The former Bon-Ton department store at Park City Center is being renovated into a mass vaccination site. Planners hope to vaccinate over 6,000 people per day.
So we're at the Community Vaccine Clinic, which is the old Bon-Ton at Park City Mall. This space is really great because it's about 100,000 square feet, which gives you the ability to socially distance, so you can do the vaccines in a safe environment. It also gives you the ability to vaccinate a large amount of people in one day.
We were really targeting the biggest site possible because we were trying to vaccinate as quickly and efficiently as we could. So it was a huge amount of effort for us to try to build a location that could vaccinate 6,000 a day and hire over 1,200 employees to vaccinate 6,000 doses per day. Huge effort.
Park City is pretty much darn centrally located if you really think about it. We're obviously right here along Route 30. You have 283 that meets just down the road, and then it's not but maybe a half a mile to a mile away from 222, again the north to south artery there. And what also makes it great too is it's a hop and a skip away from Lancaster City.
So the Bon-Ton site enabled us to not only have highway access, but access to public transportation.
The buses are going to be bringing people in and doing that no charge.
You also do need to really think about things like the size of the space, parking, the ability to get in and out of the space. And it's not an event, but you're designing it for an event. And so this had a lot of those pieces that were really important to flow and safety.
We always thought this was a great location. Well over a year ago, we scoped this space for our COVID swabbing site before we landed on the PA College as a drive-through. When we walked in, we had a phenomenal team who was doing a lot of brainstorming, and then when Rock Lidditz came in, it really took it to another level.
Well, the renovation of the former Bon-Ton department store at Park City Center is underway. Employees from the Rock Lidditz community have been hired to turn it into a mass vaccination site. Rock Lidditz is most known throughout the music industry for staging live events and managing large concert crowds. The community was hired by LGH to handle logistics of the vaccination center. The area's 4 largest health systems have partnered with the Rock Lidditz community and plan to begin vaccinating as many as 1,000 per day to start in early March.
For the live event community, the reality is what we do is gathering large crowds. And so you can't do that again until herd immunity is reached. For a year, we've been watching our businesses struggle, our friends struggle, people that I care about who haven't been able to work or have lost their jobs.
You say live entertainment industry, people really need to look at it a little bit more broad. Television production has been affected, and there's no Broadway. Like, Broadway pretty much doesn't exist anymore. Sports, it's a lot more than just going to a concert.
There's not going to be a solution that has people being tested and gathering in large crowds without the vaccine. And so getting the vaccine out to as many people as possible is really the way to turn this industry back on.
When looking at the census for Lancaster County, it's over 500,000 people, and we knew that we were going to need expertise in how to manage the logistics. And the other part that we knew that we were going to need is assistance in staffing to reach the masses that we were thinking of, which was, 6,000 people a day.
The LGH health team reached out to us as they were planning this and realizing that there was a lot of logistical items that they really could use some support with, and asked if we would partner with them to really think through the non-clinical things, the flow of people, security, safety, and all of the logistical items associated with this site.
So when they called and said, hey, we've got to put a thing in a place that's not meant to have that thing, and how does that work, and we don't know how to do it, can you help? And Andrea Shirk said,
hell yeah.
It wasn't a question of if we should do it, it was a question of when can we sign up?
Of course, when we got that phone call, we were mostly just excited to see that the community was taking such an aggressive forward approach to getting this county vaccinated. I knew if I engaged folks from Tate and Claire, Atomic, Stray Production Services, collectively we brought in a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences that could be utilized.
Knowing about Claire Brothers and Rock Lidditz and Stray and TriStar and what great companies they are and what I knew they could bring, we knew we were going to succeed.
I'm here with Claire, and we're going to be providing IT for the entire vaccination site.
Stray, crowd control, barriers, pipe and drape, tables and chairs.
Atomic is providing graphic design and execution and installation. So that's the signage you'll see on the outside of the building, the signage you'll see telling you where to stand.
Tate has a couple things that we're involved with, one being the resource pool that we're drawing from the operations side of things, and then two, coordination of how the site will actually operate.
It's been really fun. Normally they put together sets, but they're putting together lockers and carts and other pieces of equipment. So they're using their skills in a different way, but it's a way to get them back to work.
Our first project was to carpet this entire space. Normally it has these really treacherous tiles and different carpet surfaces, and to make it a smooth, easy, safe location, they wanted carpet. So we hired various staff from Claire and Tate to come in and just basically push big rolls of carpet around and be hands for the carpet guys. And they were so excited the first day they came in.
At the end of the day, this is a production, right? There's a lot of coordination happening between many vendors, many subcontractors, everyone who's coming together to make one large, ongoing event.
We're taking what we're learning from the festival and concert world, corporate marketing events, basically taking a space, converting it into something unique and different that it's not intended to be used for, and really thinking about how to get people in and out of that space to experience. And in this case, the experience is a vaccine. In this case, the rock stars are our patients, but this is an opportunity to really design some of those processes and flows with the help of the clinical team on how their processes work.
So we had to figure out how to basically make it a clinical environment. We worked really closely with the folks from the hospital side, and it's been really interesting to learn their processes and how they function. So our two areas of expertise sort of melded together.
Certainly there were limitations. One bathroom, when you have 6,000 people floating through a site, was often a common conversation in the beginning, but it ended up being a non-issue. So things that we thought would be a problem in the beginning just never really came to fruition, which was great.
Working with our clinical staff, they're not roadies, they're not speaking the same language we're speaking, but learning what their strengths were, learning how to communicate with them, learning not to run. You don't run in a medical environment.
We've had physicians come out of retirement to give vaccines, nurses who've worked in all kinds of different fields, and then even our self-support, like the National Guard. I never thought I'd get the chance to work alongside the National Guard, so that's been a really cool experience as well.
We've had roughly 55 members here at one time. We've done anywhere from vaccines to pod greeters, outside greeters, registration, pretty much fulfilled any role needed throughout the site here.
It's important to realize that we have vaccinators from a lot of diverse backgrounds, some who haven't worked with pediatrics. We have physicians who never really gave vaccines. So number one, we wanted to make sure that our vaccinators were always competent and that they were giving a safe vaccine. Number two, teaching them techniques on how to talk to somebody who has anxiety, teaching them breathing techniques, giving them something to squeeze, asking them what worked in the past, how did they manage shots.
It started with support from our Lancaster County government officials, our Board of Commissioners, but it rapidly expanded to include our health partners. All 4 major health systems in the county participated: Penn Medicine, Lancaster General Health, Penn State, WellSpan, as well as UPMC Lidditz, as well as our partners for staffing with TriStar and most notably all of the Rock Lidditz companies. This Lancaster County Community Vaccination Center is an incredible example of a public-private partnership. To watch us move from what was 20 years of science behind the mRNA vaccine to be able to take the original genetic sequence from COVID-19, be able to create that mRNA vaccine in the lab and get it out within a year. As scientists understood how the vaccine works, how efficient, effective, and very little side effects it could be, it offered us an incredible amount of assurance that we could protect people. We could protect people from getting in the hospital, protect people from dying in such quick order than we've ever seen before.
The life of the vial starts actually at the hospital. When we receive the medication at the hospital, we take it from the vendor and we store it in freezers. So we take it, put it in a freezer that's around minus 75 degrees Celsius. The day before or 2 days before, we thaw it in a fridge because it gets 30 days in a fridge. We do send it to our site every morning with a courier. And once it gets on site, it is stored in refrigerators here that are properly monitored and the temperature is proper for the vial. Once we are ready for the batch, then we remove those vials from the fridge to room temperature. We keep them at room temperature for almost 10 to 15 minutes so we can start compounding them. Once we start compounding, we reconstitute the vial and we redraw it. We send it to the floors and the whole process starts again an hour later. There's a lot of math that goes into it and a lot of planning, and with the help of multiple other teams, we were able to come up with an equation to predict what is our no-show rate, because that will also predict how many we need to make so we can decrease the waste as much as we can.
Good morning, everyone. Let's start vaccinating.
A lot of other sites have been designed so that you get your shot and then they move you to an observation area. We've decided that since we're trying to do such a large quantity, we don't want to move people through the space that often, so we're kind of a one-stop shop.
They move through a queue, they come to the chair, and they stay in that chair for their vaccine and the 15-minute wait. And that cycles through with 1 vaccinator per 5 chairs and 20 chairs within a pod. And we were able to scale that up to essentially 240 chairs to be able to enable us to do as many vaccines as we could. The amount of feedback that we got from patients, from families about how easy it was, how simple it was. You got scheduled, you came in and you left. That was just incredible to see it work. And for us, that's a sign of success.
We also have a lot of versatility in the space, giving them private areas, offering them a car vaccine, taking them to an area where they can lay down to prevent an injury.
There's no steps, no ramps are needed. The doors are wide enough for wheelchairs, and we could work with businesses like Red Rose Transit, and we set up another drop-off site. We worked with Office of Aging so that they could pick up the elderly and drop off here.
The initial 1A phase, we anticipated would have a lot of people that did have mobility issues just simply because of the age associated. So initially we anticipated needing wheelchairs, but we also went so far as to provide guides through the process. It helped us because we needed to keep everything on pace, but we didn't want them to fall in the process.
We're also addressing things within the center. how we handle a situation. For instance, if we have someone with autism or on the spectrum that can't handle large crowds or loud noises, we have a private area where they can be taken. If someone is of a religious background where they can't expose their skin in front of others, we have a private area where they can be taken. So we're trying to address all of that to get as many people vaccinated as possible.
We also partnered with Lancaster General on interpretation services. So we have video equipment that we have tapped into over 60 languages so we can meet those who don't speak English as a first language.
Once they come on, they explain who they are, and then we explain the process to them. And they do all the translating. So basically everything we say, they're translating.
It basically is an iPad where you're able to call up a person who speaks that language, and they're mobile. People can push that through the process with them and ensure that they were receiving all their information, all their instructions in the language that was their own.
We could accommodate really anybody's concern, so that would not be a barrier for them to come to such a large and potentially intimidating site. Honestly, at the end of the day, we were in the business of removing any barrier that someone had to get vaccinated here in Lancaster County.
Even though now the vaccine is readily available, we have to go back and remember it was like gold at one point. It was so precious, and we wanted to make sure that we were being good stewards of that.
We were able to get really large boluses of vaccine in the early days when the states were getting very few. And predominantly we got that because we were very effective at getting into arms quickly.
The parking lot is very full with lines out the doors here at the Lancaster Community Vaccination Center. The vaccination site is meeting the goal of vaccinating nearly 6,000 people per day.
The ultimate goal was to get the pandemic in control, to get to a point in time where we can see a total reduction of cases, less than 3% positivity, a great amount of not only natural immunity from those that had COVID, but also vaccine-induced immunity as a result of the 238,000 plus shots that we were able to give. And I think we saw that as a result of coming out of our time in June and early July of 2021. We saw a reduction in cases here in Lancaster County to the point where we were under 1% positivity, and we were never at that point before in the pandemic.
I mean, we had so many patients from out of state, out of the country, in their town 2 hours away, couldn't get a vaccine. They knew that they could come to us.
I've really just been so impressed by the team and their ability to make this experience for folks a fun one as they walk in and make them feel really comfortable right off the bat, that they know that they're getting great care, and then getting them out the door in a way that makes them feel comfortable and safe.
We would have been nowhere without 1,100 volunteers to work with us, to work with TriStar to get that up and running. That combination together, I think, made it very successful.
We figured even if we put 100 or 200 people to work, that would be great. But knowing that we helped put some money in a lot of people's pockets, and I think those folks have a little bit of a head start, and it's just very gratifying for me to know that we had something to help them get their feet back on the ground.
It's good to be back to work. I miss the people I worked with. And it's a gig that I'll always remember.
Today is the last day to get your COVID vaccine at the Lancaster Community Vaccination Center. The mass vaccination site opened on March 10th in Park City Center. Nearly 240,000 shots have been administered at the CVC.
I'm so impressed and amazed that 4 healthcare systems were able to really focus not on their individual needs, but the needs of this county, and work together and really show this county that collectively we can get through this.
We came together, we put aside our differences, we really said, let's make this happen, let's get our community back on its feet, let's make people's lives better. That was so inspiring, and I think from day one it just motivated all of us.
As I look back on our time building Lancaster County Community Vaccination Center, I'm just filled with just a great sense of appreciation, gratitude, pride. It is an incredible effort, public-private partnership, 1,100 employees, and an amazing outpouring from this community that really underscores for me, why do we live, work, and play here if not to advance the health and well-being of the communities we serve?
Lancaster's always been a really special place where things do happen because the private and public sector work together. And so watching all of these groups come together with one common goal and having it not be about them, but what does this county need, has reinforced how much I love Lancaster County.
The vaccine work has never ended. The vaccines are continuing with boosters. We're continuing to get the word out of how effective the boosters are in addition to natural immunity and how we need to get boosted. That having COVID alone with the first variants may not protect you from hospitalization. But the end game's the same, whether we're talking in 2021 or 2022. The idea is to get vaccinated, get boosted, prevent yourself from becoming so sick that you need to be in the hospital or potentially die from something that really is a preventable illness at this point. We have the science, technology, backed by 20 years of research, that we can prevent COVID-19 serious effects on a patient, on a region, on a community.